Viktor Krasovsky. Victor, that's the first time you're here, right? Never seen your name here. Hello, Mehran, he says. I'm happy to join the stream to thank you for the videos. It helped me a lot using this channel. Wanted to ask about top 3 books you can recommend to us on your choice on different topics. Number 1 is Me, My Psyche and I, which is on my site, mind@sixtruth.com. The other one is Transient Thoughts and Me. And these 2 books will help you to understand a lot about your psyche, a lot about your inner understanding of yourself, inwardly, looking at yourself inwardly. And that's very important. If you want to do anything in this life, you gotta know how this functions and how this reacts. What is this canvas's ability to bounce back and reflect and react to things? And how is it that we act, feel, react the way we do? For that, you need to understand the psyche, your own psyche. Me, My Psyche and I is that book. And the Transient Thoughts and Me helps you to understand and deal and manage, make sense of what are these thoughts that comes to my head and I never, invited them. What are they doing here? Do they define me? What are they about? What should I do with them? What do they mean to me? And of course, the Breakup Pain Handbook is just, something that has a lot to do with many of the videos here. Probably, maybe about a couple of hundred, 200-300 of the videos. And that's an accumulation of that. But books that I would recommend, other than these books, you mean? I don't know, there are lots of good books out there, but I just simply, I don't necessarily, I do my research on many different levels, and hardly I read one book all through after different things. I basically don't read books. I did read the things that I liked, but I research and find articles, and then I go deep into them more and more and further, and every part of that article, if it has another root somewhere, I follow that. So by the time I'm finished with the research of some concept, it's already a book, because there's so many places I had to go and figure out things and to thoroughly understand and analyze it. Then I go and ponder it by myself. But these are not books, these are just facts and things that I find and learn. Even the master who started this way of thinking and started this whole business thinking, which many important and famous psychologists and quantum physics professors would gather around from all around the world, go and meet with him and sit down and ask their questions from him and get into a discussion with him. Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti, he started this whole pattern of what I'm talking about over 100 years ago. And many of the authors and speakers and so-called gurus today, they use his material, but they never mention his name, as if they want to say it is only them who came up with this. But in my book, I've introduced Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti, which I learned a lot from. I've never read any of his books, none of his books, but I have listened to thousands of hours of his interviews. If it's not thousands, but at least it's 1,000 or more of his interviews with different professors in different universities, with psychologists, with discussions and lectures. I've spent years on watching his interviews, lectures, analyzing them over and over, 10, 20, 30 times, each one of them, each segments, each discussions. and then pondered based on what I had studied in my own research, in my life. I had learned in martial arts and in teaching of martial arts, which was heavily focused on meditation and movement of mind and coordination of mind and body and relationship between mind and body and the relationship between the energy of the nature and our energy. And I was able to combine that with what I was hearing and analyzing from Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti's studies all through his life, which he taught that for over 60, 70 years all around the world. And for me, it was like fish to water, because it was missing as a part of my research, which started since university time. And so for me, it was like I couldn't wait till I come home and sit till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning years ago and watch and analyze and ponder and think and, you know, try to understand. And so it was, that's where I've come, where I've come. So in a way, I believe what I have done, beside modification or changes or addition or amalgamation of it with my experiences and my researches and the martial arts and meditations and all the things that I had learned with his teachings, I think I was able to bring a different approach of delivery. And there were some things that, because of the combination of my studies in meditation and martial arts since university time, and the stuff that later, years later, I studied from Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti's lectures, I was able to bring something I don't think anybody has ever done. And that was the seminar I did for a local university. I was invited by a group to do a seminar for a bunch of people. And it's on the YouTube. It's called The End of Fear, which I think is very interesting and unique. I haven't seen anybody be able to weave that concept together and present it the way I did. So I think it would worth a look. It's about 45-50 minutes. It's called The End of Fear. It's on YouTube and it's free. Before it was for sale on my site, but now I've opened it up for everybody. So go ahead and take a look at it. So basically, that would be the one that I would be most interested. And I enjoyed learning a lot from Mr. Jiddu Krishnamurti. But it's not easy learning it, because for me it was amazingly wonderful and enjoyable. But because of the language and because of the topic, because of the way it's been explained, you may need to. So I've tried to bring it more peeled off and deliver it in the language and the form of relationship, because that is my trick in order to introduce the concept of thoughts, consciousness, fear, desire, and ego, and how they react and interact, interrelated, and what their role is in our daily life. It's my trick to introduce that concept through this universal problem of relationships and so on, because everybody would need to know about their psyche in order to be able to handle this very important part of their life. So if you see me talking about relationships a lot, it's actually tricking you to learn about yourselves and your psyche using that forum that everybody seems to have it in common and share that challenge or learning process. So I hope that was something for you to consider as my answer to your question.